If you took the SAT between March of 2005 and even just this past January, then that should have been your best friend, because that was the book. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, though we're going to throw a little shade on the College Board before this night is over. That book was the book to have because it had 10 real exams in it, real tests that were given, and that was the best way to learn. So if you brought that around with you, if you were a good student, like some of my students, that was the book to have. But what you didn't know is that on the back of it was one of the most egregiously ridiculous lies in the history of publication, and I have to show it to you because this is absurd. Now, I'm not talking about what's up in the corner on the right there. That part is 100% legit. It is a myth that tips and shortcuts can help you crush the SAT. That is not what doing well on the SAT is about, which is ultimately the good news that I'm passing on to all the people that made it out of the food coma part of the day, and I'm happy that you're still here, because it's simple. Hard work does pay in a process like the SAT, that I can promise you. So that is a myth. The lie was what was underneath it, where it says reality. The SAT isn't designed to trick you, and that is a hard thing to say out loud and not actually laugh about, because, I mean, come on, anyone who knows what this process is about knows that that is a bold-faced lie and you need evidence, right? You can't just trust a very innocent-looking face. You guys in the back, you can't even see it. So let me give you that evidence, because this is from the new book. There's a new book. I imagine a lot of you guys know. There's a redesigned SAT. It just was unveiled this past March 5th. I know that well because I was supposed to take it, which I'll talk more about. But this is a question from that book, and the nerds in the room, you're getting excited already. You already read the question. I'm just going to read it again, and nerds relax, and let me make it clear. Nerd is a friendly word here, right? It means like you get a job one day, so that's a happy thing. Which of the following is an equivalent form of the equation of the graph shown in the xy plane above, from which the coordinates of vertex A can be identified as constants in the equation? All right. College Board says, by the way, that it's testing our college level readiness, because we all know that vertex form is like an essential part of going to college. It's part of like the Brown application, right? It asks you, what do you remember about vertex form? And you say like literally everything. What I need you guys to recognize is there's an equation right up at the top, nice friendly equation. Parents in the room, you're even kind of remembering this, right? Some flashbacks here, scary flashbacks. You're thinking, oh, I know this. I actually know this. This is that foil factor thing. I know this. I got this one. I can actually do one of these. And then you yell at your son or daughter, right? Because you're like, why can't you get better scores? Like the girl down the street. Please don't do that, by the way. That's like the worst when you compare them to the girl down the street, right? Because sometimes the girl down the street knows a lot. You can't put that pressure on her. You know how to factor. You know that answer A is the proper factored version of this, and you are like, ugh, got it. And imagine, by the way, that this is section 4 of a real exam. You've been there for 3 hours. All the more reason for you to be enticed by that answer. No ifs, ands, or buts. Unfortunately, you're part of anywhere between 30 to 40% of the kids who absolutely picked that answer, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and that is by design. And this is what we need to start to recognize. There is a design behind the SAT, which is ultimately, Gabby, why this is good news, just so you know. Yeah, I found out your name. You can't give me your name here. This kid, Andrew, told me his name too. You shouldn't tell me who you are. I'm going to call you out, because it's simple. When you're part of that 30 or 40% that picks A, that's not weird. It's part of the process. It's part of what they thought was going to happen. And this is what starts to reveal that as much as the College Board wants to say that its mission is to facilitate the process to college, which I imagine in my head sometimes that the College Board headquarters, which I'm not sure what level of hell it's currently renting out so that it's got space, but College Board headquarters, you walk in, there's like a front table there, Gab. There's like a little needle point behind it, and it says, "Help Gabby get to college." And there's like a kid like half jumping in a kind of awkward way that they were able to capture. That's what they show you at the front, right? That's what's there when you walk in. But you're not allowed to get past security. No way. Because if you did and you made it inside, back to where like, you know, the break room is, there's like a real plaque that says, "Be the next guy to write a 5%er. And you're like, what's a 5%er? Well, 5%er is a question that's supposed to be where only 5% of the nation gets it. And you gotta know, the College Board knows its business very, very well. And this is what starts to help us recognize both what they're doing and why we can take advantage of it. And it's very simple. Every person here that is under the age of 16, you made the best decision you could have made to come out tonight, because you're leaving here powerful. You're leaving here confident. No ifs, ands, or buts. We can flip this script very, very easily. You realize that answers have been crafted. You realize, again, there's a design to this test. My man is writing this down in his TED notebook. Why is your TED notebook, Corey, not out? Let's just put that out there. If I had a British accent like James Veach, I think maybe you would be writing this stuff down, or maybe not. All right, anyway, I'm gonna get animated. I'm gonna pull it back a second here, because I need you to know, there's some sad kid, by the way, you think the answer's B. This whole time, you're like, it's not A, it's B. Bro, you can't even factor right, so everything's going wrong. Like, everything is going brutally wrong. And I just need some of you to realize there's a negative 15 in the original equation, right? So you got kids picking C. Guys, if you thought D was the answer, which is so not the point of this conversation, I like the excitement, I do, I love the excitement. But at some point you realize that the real point of this, again, is that there's a design, there is. And in case this is not enough proof, let me talk about March 5th, 2016. I was supposed to be in a Los Angeles classroom taking the SAT. I get a bogus email, by the way, the Monday before the test telling me that I'm no longer allowed to test for security reasons. I'm not quite sure what security risk that I posed, but you know, security reasons. Pretty simply, I think the reality was this. The College Board did not want a professional like myself, because if you guys don't know, all the parents in the room, you can take the SAT. Moms could be sitting behind you taking the SAT, like, Andrew, you can do it, buddy. I believe in you. It'd be amazing. But anyone can take this. So I was supposed to take it on March 5th, but I got booted out of it, and that's okay. Because the real point, and I did take it, by the way, on May 7th, so I'm going to talk about that, but the point is this. You could set your clock by the College Board in the past. You take the exam, 19 days later, your score came out. That made sense. It's a Scantron. You feed this thing into a machine. It spits out the scores. Why should it take a long time? There was an essay they had to grade, but again, they had it worked out. 19 days, boom, scores are out. So I was telling my students, test is March 5th. March 24th, we should be good. That's when your scores come out. We'll know where you stand. And then they post on the College Board website that the scores will be posted in May. And then finally, it officially posted that it was going to come out like May 11th. 2 months, more than 2 months to release those scores. And students ask me regularly then, why was that the case? Why take 2 months for this to come out? And I think it's pretty simple. The College Board had to make sure that the test and the scores still represented what they wanted it to be. They needed to be where not too many kids, again, score certain scores. And this may sound sinister, but ultimately, this is why we have power over the exam, because you just have to recognize things are not on by accident, guys, on this test. Nothing's by accident. They take time to think this through. They needed the time, apparently, 2 months worth, to crunch the numbers to make sure there wasn't 3% of us who scored a perfect 800. Because we can't all go to Harvard. That's not happening. I mean, this is something where I tell my students all the time. The hard work you put in is gonna get rewarded, but you're not all gonna put in the same work, and I respect that. I like the kid. You know, sports is his life. Sports are her life. This is something that's important to her. So you don't have to put in the same effort. But if we all put in the same effort, and we all got the same score, the College Board would be thwarted. It's like, yay, we're all going to Princeton. We just hug now at the end of every class, because we're all gonna go together. It's gonna be amazing. The exam serves a purpose to separate, but that's the wonderful news. That separation can be overcome, and there is no problem, like my friend Andrew, who I met during the break, with taking the exam 4 times, 5 times. I have a student who is a third-year student at University of Pennsylvania, right, one of the Ivies. She took the SAT 6 times. If anything, it shows the work she was willing to put in to earn the kind of score that it took to get into that school. And that's just what I wish the College Board would say. Like, say that it's a skill. Don't masquerade behind the fact that knowing what a colon does makes me job ready, because I don't know, if I asked you what does a colon do, somebody's gonna remember that it could be part of a list, but that's just one thing. Colons are pretty badass, actually. They do a lot of things. That's what happens in my classroom. Colons become badass. So just to be clear, like, this is something that if they just said it's a skill, it's something that you have to learn to do, It's where showing the diligence to be rewarded by the skill you put forth and the effort you put forth. That I think would be amazing. And learning how to deal with pressure, because it is pressure. I know, because on May 7th, I was in that same Los Angeles classroom, finally taking the newly designed SAT. And I do get asked quite frequently, and it's been on my mind, by the way, Elizabeth, as to what questions you're gonna ask me, because I'm intrigued. But I get asked all the time, what'd you score on the SAT? Well, if you want to know what I scored on the May 7th exam, then follow my Twitter handle first of all, because I'm going to tweet it out in 2 days. My scores come out in 2 days. They haven't come out yet. I did make quite a few wagers with my students that if I scored below a 1580, because the perfect score, parents, right, is now what we used to remember, right? It briefly had this little 11-year soiree with 2,400, but now it's back to 1,600. If I score below 1580, I'm out about like $18,000 with all the bets I made with my students, but I already told them, don't wait up for that tweet, because when I drop that 1,600, then you will be kind of upset. The point I want to really get across, though, is I can do that now as an adult, as someone who's dedicated his life to learning how to beat an exam like this. As a high school kid, come on, I did what most of us did back in that day. You bought a big, awful Barron's book, you pretended to maybe study from it. I bent it a bunch, maybe spilled a little coffee on it, because my parents, they're Asian parents. Not that, just gotta throw that out there. Simply, it's where I didn't know what I know now. It was really that easy. I didn't know what I know now. So I like telling students. In fact, I love it. I love telling students, like my new friend Matt in the back here, or now he's in the front. I love telling students. As a high school kid, I didn't score perfect on anything. There's only 2 parts, but I didn't score perfect on it. And that's something that's just part of the process. It's why I want students to realize there's power to be had here. And I just need you guys to know, the fact that you sat through this, we kind of struck an agreement. I mean, we're basically family, Gabby, just as a heads up now, right? Because I'm actually going to tutor you myself. It's going to be amazing. And some lucky winner is going to get that too. More of you should have put money in that thing, right? Maybe we can put some money more back in so we can redraw this thing. And yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But it's simple. We've made an agreement. We have a blood pact. We didn't seal it with blood yet, but maybe we will right after this thing. The arrangement is this. I took these 10 minutes to give you a sense of what this test is really about, to give you an idea that the College Board can say what it wants to say. And just as a quick side note before you know what your end of the bargain is, that's the new book, right? And somebody wised up and realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't lie on the back anymore, because that whole reality, the SAT isn't designed to trick you, that's gone, and that's conspicuously gone. But your side of the arrangement, guys, is simple. We need to orchestrate something, so wherever you are, you happen to overhear the guy next to you, blah, 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 at my office at the College Board, and that's when your ears perk up, because you know you gotta do something for me. You gotta tweet me right away. You gotta tell me wherever you are, whatever the situation is fine. It's a wedding. I have a tux on me 24/7, just in case. I show up, I look good, it's gonna be nice. It's a family barbecue, no problem. I'm the exchange student you didn't know your weird aunt was bringing, and so I just blend right in. And I'll just casually oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, oh yeah, my name is Chris. I'm a ethnobotanist, like in Jurassic Park, and I was just, yeah, oh, what do you do? Oh, you work for the College Board. That's amazing, because like my niece, aunt, cousin, blind person, somebody, they're about to take the SAT, and they're freaking out. They're like freaking out, and I looked at some of these questions. I thought I was smart, but I mean, they're pretty tricky. I mean, some of these are trick questions, right? And I just want to see his face or her face, where they're like, no. Oh. Okay, you got me. Because come on, everyone knows this, but that knowledge is power. And that's what I want to leave you with here. The SAT can be beat. It's not a question. It's just a matter of knowing how to do it. And if that doesn't get you excited, then you might be a little dead inside. This was so much fun. I love all of you, all of you.